Good morning, everybody. I am Jerry, and this is Joy, my lovely wife. And we are here today on the 22nd of January for another lesson on the Proverbs. I hope y'all don't get tired of Proverbs because it's a long, long book and it's got a ton of information in it, but we will be on that for some time, obviously. But every jot and tittle of what's in there is very, very important. So that's why we wanted to go through it and study it and do those types of things. But anyway, like I said, it's the 22nd of January. We just got back from Louisville last week and also McKinney to finish up all the work on our coach. And praise God, everything is fixed on that coach. So
thank you, Jesus.
now we can go enjoy it like what we intended to do
When we bought it.
almost a year ago now. So, anyway, enough of that. Today we're in Proverbs 13 verses 12 through 25. I obviously reading out of the King James Version. Joy will be reading out of the Living Bible for those of you that have trouble understanding the King James. And sometimes even I have trouble understanding it, because sometimes it just gets into too much
Theist and thouist.
theist and thouist.
Over it than under it,
But anyway,
yeah.
Anyway, I'll start in verse 12. Hope deferred maketh the heart sick, but when the desire cometh, it is a tree of life. Whoso despiseth the word shall be destroyed, but he that feareth the commandments shall be rewarded. The law of the wise is a fountain of life, to depart from the snares of death. Good understanding giveth favor, but the way of transgressors is hard. Every prudent man dealeth with knowledge, but a fool layeth upon his folly. Layeth open his folly, A wicked messenger falleth into mischief, but a faithful ambassador is health. Poverty and shame shall be to him that refuseth instruction, but he that regardeth reproof shall be honored. The desire accomplished is sweet to the soul, but it is abomination to fools to depart from evil. He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be...
Start over on verse 20. I knew that was going to happen. I can't stop it.
I understand you can't stop sneezes. If you do, you blow your head off.
All right, verse 20.
He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. Evil pursueth sinners, but to the righteous good shall be repaid. A good man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children, and the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. Much food is in the tillage of the poor, but there is that is destroyed for want of judgment. He that spareth his rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him chasteneth him betimes. The righteous eateth to the satisfying of his soul, but the belly of the wicked shall want.
Oh, I tell you what. My daddy, we'd be in Walmart, we'd be in Home Depot or TG&Y or whatever it was back then. And he'd see some brat running up and down the aisle or knocking stuff off shelves or whatever. And he knew the Bible. He knew all the Bible. And he knows this scripture. If you refuse to discipline your son, it proves you don't love him. And he used to say to the mother, why do you hate your child? Or if the mother would say, you're going to get it when you get home. I'm going to spank you. I'm going to take you to the car. Daddy would say to her, why do you lie to your child? Why do you hate your child? Of course, I wanted to crawl under the shelf and go outside and hide in the bushes.
He was right, but I mean...
My father was right. And these people obviously didn't know how to discipline their children, and we've got the result of it all over the world today. So I just wanted to add
That little tidbit.
that a little tidbit there. Are we ready for the understandable version? Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but when dreams come true at last, there is life and joy. Despise God's word and find yourself in trouble. Obey it and succeed. The advice of a wise man refreshes like water from a mountain spring. Those accepting it become aware of the pitfalls on ahead. A man with good sense is appreciated. A treacherous man must walk a rocky road. A wise man thinks ahead. A fool does not, and even brags about it. An unreliable messenger can cause a lot of trouble. Reliable communication permits progress. If you refuse criticism, you will end in poverty and disgrace. If you accept criticism, you are on the road to fame. I love that. There it is. There's my thinking right there. Or you could call it advice. It is pleasant to see plans develop. That is why fools refuse to give them up, even when they are wrong. Be with wise men and become wise. Be with evil men and become evil. Curses chase sinners, while blessings chase the righteous. When a good man dies, he leaves an inheritance to his grandchildren. But when a sinner dies, his wealth is stored up for the godly. A poor man's farm may have good soil, but injustice robs him of its riches. If you refuse to discipline your son, it proves you do not love him. For if you love him, you will be prompt to punish him. The good man eats to live, while the evil man lives to eat. Did you hear this? But when a sinner dies, his wealth is stored up for the godly. How is that? How is that? Because they leave their money to their kids too, you know, or their foundations, or their
I know it's
evil friends or whatever.
Kind of hard to understand.
How is it stored up for the godly?
You know, I don't know. I haven't got any real world explanation for that, actually.
I haven't gotten any evil men's dead money yet. Any money from dead evil men yet.
I don't know. Maybe that's to come. I just don't know. That's one of those questions that only God kind of knows.
I understood everything, but that one kind of, I'm like, what does that mean? Let me read it in this one. What verse was that? Let me see. There's so much here. When a sinner dies, his wealth is stored up for the godly. That's 22. 13:22. Let's look it up in this version.
NIV.
This is the New International Version. And let's see how it says it here. A good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, but a sinner's wealth is stored up for the righteous. Where's it stored up at?
It's in heaven, I think.
In heaven?
That's the treasures of heaven.
But an evil man doesn't have any treasures in heaven.
He does when he dies, somehow or another.
I don't think so.
I know, it's a... Any of y'all have an explanation for that? Let us know.
I know some of you know.
Like I said, we don't know everything about the Bible, but we do what we can. Anyway,
Let me get all the other versions.
let's go back to verse 12, the very beginning of this. Hope deferred maketh the heart sick, but when the desire cometh, it is the tree of life. And that is so true in so many things, because like hope, for example, is part of, well, actually it's faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for,
The
the evidence of things not seen. Well, hoping for something, there's a lot of things you people and us involved in, hope for a lot of things in our lives. And so, for example, like our relationships with our children coming back together again in a good environment, so on and so forth. And the longer that takes, the longer it takes, it's like hope deferred maketh the heart sick.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where faith gets involved in all this. There's a lot of things that God works through us that requires time. And there's no really explanation for the time period that it takes to get all this done. Only God knows that. But you have faith that your relationships will be restored with your children. But it takes time. And I think that's somewhat of a trial of your faith. Now, I don't know that for a fact, but
It's certainly a trial of mine.
It just makes sense because these trials in life come up and they all generally take some time for them to come to fruition. And the relationships with other individuals, I feel like personally that it's a responsibility of the Holy Spirit through, not necessarily through you, but you pray that the Holy Spirit will convict their hearts so that they learn the error of their ways and they come back to a realization of their relationship with their parents is what they should have honored a long time ago.
Well, and I pray that God convicts my heart. If there's something I'm doing wrong,
That's
living wrong, saying wrong, tell me. I'll do it. I'll do anything. Tell me. And sometimes I'll try doing something and I'll think, oh, the Lord wants me to do this. And so I'll do it. And then it just goes nowhere or it makes things worse. And so then you feel like you just should never do anything. You should never say anything. You should never do anything. You just need to wait until God fixes them. So it's hard. It's the hardest thing in my life, and I wish we weren't talking about it.
Well, like I said, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And if you continually confess the wrong or whatever the problem is, you know, in a negative way, it's never going to come to fruition. You can't demolish your faith by saying certain, what it goes back to the old thing about what comes out of your mouth is what you receive. So you've got to be very careful about that. But it does take time. It takes time, for example, when you tithe or something like that and you start writing checks. It takes time for you to see the rewards of that. It doesn't happen overnight. And God works in mysterious ways that you nor I know about, you know, but things do come to fruition eventually. Healing is another example of that. I think there's a lot of trial involved in healing situations where it may take a day, it may take 6 months, it may take a year. Only God knows that between you and Him. You know, and it's how you react to your faith, with your faith, that I feel like shortens the time period. You know, so you got to be very careful, like I said, what comes out of your mouth and what you say. And but when it does happen, that is a joyful experience. Like when you get finally healed of something, you know, that in many cases would take your life, you know, such as a dread disease or something. That is a great joy when that is healed, I'm telling you. So, it says in 13, whoso despiseth the word shall be destroyed, but he that feareth the commandment shall be rewarded. That's pretty simple to understand. If you despise God's word and you just blow it all off and you don't even pay attention to it, you're eventually going to die. You're eventually just going to be destroyed because you're not just going to survive that in any way that you want to. 14, it says, the law of the wise is a fountain of life, to depart from the snares of death. Okay, which that means even though the law is set up in the Old Testament, the law is still basically in effect, but we have been redeemed from the law, okay, because of what Jesus did on the cross for us. But the law is still there. I mean, You have to abide by it. You need to abide by it. Or you will die eventually. Every prudent man dealeth with knowledge, but a fool layeth open his folly. Every prudent man. So what does that mean? Knowledge. What are we talking about? Knowledge. We're talking about knowledge of God's Word and its effects on your life. And it says, every prudent man dealeth with knowledge. And that's not only that, but it happens in a lot of things in life. When you start to go in and tear something apart that you know nothing about, you'll eventually destroy it. You know, if you're going to work on something, you need to understand how it's put together and all that kind of thing. So it's just another example of that. You want to continue on with anything?
Well, I just want to say that a real good illustration of what Jerry's talking about was in Matthew Hagee's sermon today. Cornerstone Church, San Antonio. We watch the live service every Sunday morning, as most of you know. But if you want to hear what he was talking about, you can just forward through all the singing and the offerings and stuff and start at the sermon. But what I love about Matthew is he has illustrations. One time he had great big giant dominoes. And one time he had a great big giant cross. And he had a horse one time. He had a horse in there with reins and stuff. And it leaves an impression in your mind. For me, I guess I'm a visual learner. But
most people are.
For these illustrations, it really makes me remember it. But there was a really, really good illustration today about exactly this. So, if anyone is interested in hearing it professionally said in a sermon, listen to Matthew Hagee. Today is January 22, 2023, and it was Cornerstone Church in San Antonio. Matthew Hagee was preaching about miracles. So, it was, if you want to, just forward to where you say, oh, that looks like an illustration, and, you can just watch it from there.
Yeah.
You'll get it. But that's all I have to say, because...
Well, it's actually talking about mixing the Word. In other words, gaining knowledge of the Word, and then relying upon the Word for everything in your life, basically, and your obedience to the Word. And it all comes down to trust and obedience. There's a hymn that everyone used to sing, trust and obey, for there's no other way. And that's virtually true. If you don't trust God, you're just not going to be successful in life. I mean, I'm talking about just not financial success. I'm talking about every area of your life. If you don't trust in God and His Word, then you're climbing a very difficult mountain and you'll never reach the top. Because you may gain a lot of wealth, but that wealth comes with a lot of headache and a lot of other things too. If you're not in the Word and relying upon the Word and trusting the Word, your life's going to be miserable, whether you got a gazillion dollars or whether you're broke and poor.
Well, and I know from my own case, very sad, hurtful things can still happen.
That is true. The trials of life come against you. And you may be rocking along here and everything is fine, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, this
storm happens.
This attack from Satan is basically what that all is, to be honest. Because there is a scripture, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers in high places. And that's where all this bad stuff comes from, is from Satan and his demonic angels trying to overcome you, okay? Trying to put fear in your life, trying to put doubt in your life, trying to go against God's Word. Because ultimately He came here to kill, steal, and destroy. That's His three main goals.
Well, it's never going to stop.
It's never going to stop
until Jesus comes through, right? And puts him in hell where he belongs. Well, dear, I think we should probably wind this up.
Well, okay.
I don't know how long we've been, but...
Down in verse 18, it says, poverty and shame shall be to him that refuseth instruction, but he that regardeth reproof shall be honored. In other words, if you can't take instruction and criticism on things that you've done to kind of straighten you out, you know, God will correct you, you know. He'll allow things to happen to you sometimes because you need correcting, okay? But if you disregard that and just go on about your thing, then you're going to end up destroyed, basically. But I guess we can. I don't. Do you have anything else to add to this? Back to the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. We would like to hear some explanation of that from you all, because it's a little difficult to kind of.
Yeah, where's my pile?
Well.
Oh, all right. Well,
It's laid up somewhere. The only thing I can think of where you lay up wealth is in heaven.
I guess so.
Because you don't go to the bank with somebody else's money, basically. You know? So, I don't know. But anyway, we'll cut it off for today. And y'all have a blessed week. And we'd love to hear your comments. And again, I want to thank everyone that's praying for me and my blood pressure issue. My blood pressure is coming very back under control. Obviously with some medication, but you know, that's at least coming under control. And it's a lot better than what it was 2 weeks ago. So I thank you for that again. And because prayer is worth, there is no worth to prayer. I mean, it's worth everything in the world. So I appreciate it and thank you for it again.
Okay, we'll see you next Sunday.
Have a blessed week, guys.
Bye for now.
Bye.